question that I would want people to really ask me is what does it really take to homeschool? Because so
Mm.
many people ask the question, well, what kind of curriculum do you use? That's always the first question. But if they could ask, what does it really take?
Hmm.
I think that's a better question.
So here's the question. What does it take? What does it really take to homeschool?
I would say, because I've been homeschooling for 6 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. And so
Wow.
I would say what it takes is you understanding your why. People say that all the time. But what that really means is, who are you? Who is your family? Who are your children? What do you like? What do they like? What is the vision or the reason why you're homeschooling? And once you understand that, your why am I homeschooling? Why are we homeschooling? I think from there you can start to figure out, curriculum, your style. You'll start to figure all of those other things out. Curriculum should be last.
Wow. Okay, so with how you do homeschooling now, what happened in the vision of your family to say like, hey, this is the trigger that we're gonna do. We're gonna stop bringing our kids to traditional school. We're gonna homeschool. Like, what in the vision changed to bring that about?
Well, when my daughter came along, my first child, I think I had always thought about homeschooling, but my husband really wasn't for it because of some examples that we saw growing up that weren't very good. But it was something that I wanted to do. And so my daughter was actually going to a Montessori school, and it was a great school. I loved it. But there were some things that she needed help with that they were not able to provide for her. And so we decided to go ahead and homeschool her. But my husband, he said, let's do it for 1 year. And so that was our mentality up until now. Every year we decide, are we going to homeschool? So we don't lock ourselves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we don't lock ourselves into a all or nothing mentality. We have to homeschool. It really depends on what is going on that year. What do our children need? What do we need? Because I do think that that's another question that needs to be asked or needs to be thought about, which is, once you figure out your vision, your why of your homeschooling, then I think the next step is, what kind of energy levels do I have?
Wow.
What kind of energy levels do my children have? Because my children, both of them have very different energy levels. And I am an introvert, okay? Meaning my energy level is, when I'm around a lot of people, then my energy levels go down. So I need time to replenish. That's what I mean by being an introvert. Even though I love talking to people and being around people, I have to have that time. But one of my children are very extroverted.
Oh,
and
wow.
They be around me all day long. And I'm like, that's up. You need to put some space between. But so that you have to take all of those things into account. And then your energy levels, as well as what is your children's learning style? What is your teaching style? So once you start figuring those things out, then you start to understand, again, what kind of curriculum you need. So to go back to what you were asking me about the why we decided to do that. So when my daughter was going into the second grade, that's when we decided to go ahead and say, okay, this was good. It gave her a great foundation. She enjoyed school, but what she needs moving forward is not working in this school. And we knew we didn't want to do public school because there were some things that she needed that public school was not going to be able to provide for her either.
Such as what?
And when my daughter had some learning challenges, and the schools that we were zoned to where I live, you really cannot go to different schools. You have to go to the school that you are zoned to. And my daughter's a very bright child, but there was some things she needed more of like a one-on-one help with, which is why we put her in a Montessori school. And
Okay.
so even though the public school system does allow for what's called a 504 program, I think I'm saying that right. It's a program where you can get specialized attention. But Lord, that's a whole lot of work you have to do.
Man.
So,
like a grant almost.
No, well, what it is, you have to fill out a lot of paperwork, and a lot of teachers are not equipped to handle children who maybe have ADHD or other types of learning that need more specialized attention. Mm-hmm. And some teachers are, but not all. It just depends on what you're getting at the school. And so we decided we didn't want to go through all of that. Well, we battled, weekly, monthly, yearly to get her what she needs. We decided it would be best for us to give her what she needed at home.
Wow. You mentioned something that I wanted to make sure that we understood. You said that you and your husband at first, you were kind of reluctant to do it because of examples you guys saw prior to homeschooling. What were those examples?
Some of the examples that we saw some families would pull their children out and homeschool them, but there was no plan, there was no consistency, there was no activities for the children. It wasn't well thought out. And so what we saw for some children was, they didn't know how to interact well, or they didn't know how to stick to a schedule, or they didn't understand how to, or they weren't doing homeschool at all. It was very sporadic.
They were just hanging out.
I don't know, but I know they weren't doing the homeschool. So, and so later on, as they got older, they seemed to be a little bit behind other children.
Okay.
Now, not all, but that was some of the examples that we saw. And so because of that, but me, I had done a lot of research on homeschooling, and I realized that it was what you put into it. My husband wasn't for it, so he never looked into it. But once we talked about it, and I told him, this is what I want to do, this is what we need to do. Then he said, it sounds good, but I'm still reluctant. I don't know about this because, you say that these people that's successful, but, it's like, I'm not really, I'm not really trusting that. And that's why we decided to do it for a year. Yeah.
How did you get him? How did you get him to say yes?
I just asked him let's try. Give me a chance to show that we can do it, because I was going to be home, he was going to be working, so he wasn't going to have a lot of involvement as much as I would have. But in order to homeschool, if you're married, you both got to be on board. You both have to be supportive. So without his support, it would be very difficult for me to do it.
Now, do you see as a married couple that you have an advantage over someone who's single when it comes to homeschooling?
I don't think I can say that because I wouldn't know the person's situation. I would say that no matter what your situation is, as long as you have support, and you're organized, that can look different for each individual, because some people can be married and they're not being supported.
Ooh, that's a.
Did I speak a word?
I'm about to say you can stay there if you want. You can stay there if you want.
we don't want to go there, but that's true. And I think that so even if you're not married, whatever your situation is, you just have to have some type of village, some type of support system. That could be groups, that could be family members, but you also have to just be very well organized.
Now, do you see for you, so you've been doing it for 6 years, so you've seen multiple seasons, multiple ages. If you could give Stacy advice from where you are now to when you first started, what would be some advice or some tips you would give yourself?
The first thing I would say is calm down, sit down. I was like, calm down, sit down, because when you're new, and I can compare it to business. You know, I'm new in my journey of entrepreneurship online. I've had several businesses, but the online journey is a bit different. And so I think just like with online business, when you don't know what you're doing, you're constantly looking at other people. You're constantly second guessing yourself. You're constantly wondering, am I doing the right thing? Or you are following what others are doing. And so that is, I think, a journey that you have to go through, just like an online business, right? The gurus tell you, don't do this, don't do that, you still do it. And so, because you don't know. You don't know. And so, just like with homeschool, you don't know, and you're trying to figure it out. And another thing is, despite, I would say I'm a very open-minded person. I'm kind of like, if they doing it this way, I want to do it that way. Well, I don't think we have to do it like that. So I'm very open-minded in that way. But I think you cannot negate the fact that you have a public school experience if you went to public school. Yep. And you will try to public school your child at home. Wow. You're gonna do it. Because when they say more is caught than taught, that is what you know. No matter what you're reading, what your goals are for your homeschooling, you're going to revert back to what you know.
How do you break that?
From something. It's a process. It's a process that you just have to go through. And as you go through the process of figuring out who you are and what your children are, what is the end objective for you and your family, and you start actually doing the homeschool part, you're going to do the public school thing, but then eventually you'll realize, okay, you kind of keep going back to, what do I want? What is the objective that I want from me and my family, my children? And eventually you will start to put those things to the side. You'll start to stop trying to school at home, public school at home, and you'll find your own rhythm and your own way of homeschooling and what fits you.
When did you feel that, hey, I'm in my groove now of not giving them public school at home?
Probably 3 years in.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So how did you survive those first 3 years?
Well, let me see. Well, don't forget that was during COVID as well.
Okay. So, yep.
So my son never went to school because by the time it was time for him to go to school, it was COVID, and I wasn't going to send him to school with that. So we just decided to homeschool him as well. We probably would have sent him to that same Montessori school that we love, at least for a little while, and then homeschool, but that didn't work out. And it actually worked for him because my son, he's not so much now, but at the time he was very, very shy. And I think I would have traumatized poor child if I had to send him to school because that's how shy he was. But now he's not as like that. But he said he loves homeschooling. He wants to keep doing it. So we'll do it unless something changes. But I think that I was resisting a lot of things.
Like what?
And I resisting my style, my being introverted, my idea of what I thought it should look like, the idea of how I thought they should learn, the idea of we need to do this many subjects. We need to homeschool for this amount of time. Once I was able to let all of those things go, and I accepted my energy levels, my style, their style, how much time I really had to give to homeschool and be consistent, that's when things started.
So it's the hearing it more so now. It's a unlearning for the parent as much as it is learning for the actual child. How do you stay I don't want to say encourage, but how do you stay inspired as you're unlearning at the same time that you're teaching somebody else?
Back to the why. Trust me, there's plenty of times when I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna send y'all to school. And so, I'm saying that to myself because I am a person who enjoys my alone time or being by myself for a while. And so it would be very easy to just sit in the school and I'd be at home all day by myself, enjoy putting my music on. But when I look at the alternatives to sending them to school for our family, it's an absolute no.
Wow.
And so for me and the reasons we have. And so I think you constantly are going back to, is this right for me and my kids right now? And every time I think about it and list the pros and cons, homeschooling is always the better option for us.
Now, as a African American woman, do you feel it's, I don't want to say harder, but do you feel it's not as accepted for a woman of color to make a decision like that versus maybe a different race?
It hasn't been for me.
Okay.
I will say that majority of the people I saw growing up were Black. And so, but I will say the resources of what you see online, like when I go look at podcasts, normally I don't see me. Right? And so I think that is sometimes maybe a little bit difficult in the sense of it would be nice to see more of me, but I have found resources with anybody. Because I really think it's a personality thing. The people that I've resonated with the most, we have similar personalities, similar viewpoints.
Okay.
And so I think that's the most important factor. It'd be nice to have a little sister in there, laughing and cackling, but that's not, why I'm there. So, 'cause I have my village, I have my people that I'm dealing with on a regular basis. But so it would be nice to see. It would be nice to see people of color, someone Black, doing what I'm doing and that relatability. But I don't think it's necessary.
This is kind of off topic, but on topic. You should definitely consider having a podcast.
I've been thinking about it, Drew.
You should definitely consider. You have not only do you have so much to offer, but you have so much to offer in different, like under one big umbrella in different sects of it. So I don't know if you ever knew that I actually love teaching people how to make podcasts. So if you ever want to, I got you.
Okay.
What?
And the thing is, I don't really like talking about homeschooling in a sense of like how to set it up and how to do. I love talking about this aspect of it because I think homeschooling is very personal.
Yes.
And so a lot of people want to get into curriculum and what do you use, and if you knew what I did, you'd probably be like, girl, what are you doing over there? But I don't get so much into the curriculum. The way we homeschool it is core subjects, math, reading, writing, grammar, and then we do a lot of life skills, a lot of relationship.
Oh my gosh! So I love it because first you said something that stuck out, and I think we can apply this to like life in general. If you really get clear on what your why is, the other stuff would kind of take care of itself. Like you said, we got clear on the vision for our family, the why for our family. So then the curriculum was last. I think what people are seeing now, and you can let me know if I'm wrong, is they're going curriculum first. And then that's where they're finding so much tension, because I think that's like throwing the kid right back into public school in their pajamas. Yes, absolutely. That's the first question I get anytime someone asks, what kind of curriculum do you use? And it's like, I don't really know what to say to that, because you have to do the other part first. I can tell you what I'm doing, and I will say this. I do believe that sometimes people homeschool
not sometimes, usually there's something that has happened, the reason why they want to homeschool. Okay. Like maybe a problem with a teacher or a problem with the school system or a learning challenge or safety. There's usually something that's triggering, I think I should homeschool. And so sometimes you're leading with that too. You're going with that too much, and you're not ever going into the real why. The real
tell us more. Tell us more about that.
So for instance, let's say a person is having a problem at school with a teacher, or the child doesn't seem motivated or whatever. And so somebody will come to me and say, well, I'm thinking about homeschooling. What kind of curriculum do you have? Well, see, this is not the real issue. Okay, why are they having problems? Why are they having behavioral problems or learning challenges? Or what is it with the teacher? Is it that you need to maybe transfer them out of that classroom? Or is it that you maybe need to go to a Montessori school? Homeschooling may not always be the best option, because see, once you start looking at what you can give, it may not be for you.
Whoa. What do you I like that, because I've never heard anybody who homeschools say that. It's usually homeschool or nothing. Like either homeschool or it's not right. What would make you think that what will make you think that there's an option of maybe a Montessori school versus homeschooling?
Because we did Montessori. I don't think homeschooling is the answer for everything and everyone. Like I said, when you look at sometimes what it takes to homeschool, you don't have. It's not because you don't love your children, energy wise, because I saw a quote the other day and I said, "Ooh, that's the truth." Homeschooling is going to bring out your issues. It's going to bring out your issues, whether you realize you have them or not. It could be a time management issue, organizational issues, consistency issues. It could be mental and emotional issues that you may have, and you can get very triggered homeschooling. And so if you're not able to deal with that, or you're better able to deal with these issues with your child being in school, or maybe homeschooling but having a tutor for certain subjects.
I like that.
Right?
I like that.
There's a variety of things that you can do where you can continue to homeschool, or maybe choose another option where your child's still going to get what they need, but you also are getting what you need. Because remember, your homeschooling is different, because when you go to school, your teacher is not emotionally invested in your child. Not like that.
Not like that. No.
Not like that. What's most important when you homeschool is the relationship you have with your child. And if you got these issues and these triggers going on, you can damage that relationship.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I respect that. You said you may not have what it takes. Because now
and there's nothing wrong with that.
It's nothing wrong with that. You don't have the capacity, but you said something that me and my wife usually always say this: marriage will show you who you really are. It's not social media marriage, like real marriage. So when you said that, like it was like homeschooling, like this is going to show you your time management, organization, maybe some blocks and stuff like that. With knowing all of that, how did you get to year 6?
I was determined to work through it. I wanted to work through those things because they were important to me. And sending them back to school wasn't going to solve the issue, not for me and not for them. Again, when I looked at the pros and cons, it's better for me to work through my issues and whatever I need to shore up on than to send them to school. But I was willing to do the work. And I knew I was able to do the work. I was capable of doing the work. And sometimes, because there were some things I had already worked through before I started homeschool. So I knew that what it was going to take. I was willing to get the courses or trial and error. I was willing to go through the trial and error. And more importantly, I was willing to be honest with myself about my weaknesses, my triggers, my lack of maybe some time management things, because I was raised by my mother, Sandra, of course, and my father too, but Sandra don't play when it comes to clinics. And so Sandra don't play. And so I'll give you an example. One of the most important things to me was having a very nice home. Neat, clean, beautiful looking home. Now, I wanted it to be, I didn't want it to be overwhelming, but that's how I was raised. And a lot of the podcasts and things I was listening to would say things like, oh, you just have to, that's just how it is. Your house is going to just be a mess because it's homeschool. And that didn't sit well with me. It didn't sit well with me. I just could not grasp. But I had to understand that, because I learned later in life that I have ADHD. And Lord knows, I said, well, that makes so much sense. And so...
You would not think so at all.
Well, it's just executive function and it's the planning. And I could get things done when I didn't have the kid. But once I started having children and now they're home all day.
It's a lot different.
Right? And the house is not clean. It wasn't working for me. And so I had to learn how do I accept? So that's why I said a lot of acceptance. How do I accept that I cannot have the home that I want to have with 2 kids? Can I accept that? Can I accept my house just being dirty or messed up? No, I cannot. So now what am I going to do? That's when I realized I had to live very, very simple. And so I'm gonna plug myself real quick.
Go for it. Go for it.
That's why I don't really talk about the homeschooling aspect as much as like how to do all of that, as I do more of the organizational, the planning, the mental aspect, the time management. See, once I got very, very simple, I had to get very simple on what is it that you actually want to accomplish. I want to be home, but Stacey, you can't have them out of home and it's going to be clean all day. It's not going to happen. So you're going to have to scale that back. You're going to have to get very simple in the way you decorate, the way you organize, the way you prioritize. Everything's going to have to be very, very simple if you want to have this and this.
So you guys got to follow her on Threads, because when you read her stuff, it's like when I read it, I always stop and I'm like, make things simple. You don't got to accomplish everything. And it's not a message that's popular, but it's what I think will get the result. In the long run, when you're not chasing A through Z, you're just doing A right now and B. Would you say, with being 6 years and building your online business now and things like that, how does Stacey get a chance to pour back into herself?
Oh, that's a good one. Goes back to communication with your spouse, communication with your children. I told my children one day, I said, Mommy is like a cell phone. If she don't recharge, she gonna die.
The analogy.
So, because I would say things like, I need some alone time, I need some personal time, I'm gonna leave and do this. And my kids felt like I didn't want to be with them. And when I explained it to like that, when I told them it's like a cell phone, I have to recharge or I won't be able to operate. You won't be able to call me. I won't be there. And so communicating that with my husband, communicating that with my children, accepting for myself that I need time alone. So once a week, I try to get out the house by myself for a couple hours.
Nice.
And I try to be in bed by 10 o'clock.
Nice.
Because I wake up early. And I incorporate breaks throughout my day. So when I'm taking a break, they're taking a break. Or getting outside every morning. I make sure I go for a walk. I do a 30-minute walk every morning. And so these things I've learned to incorporate throughout my day, making sure that, husband and I have date night. I have very supportive community of people that help us, my parents, my husband's parents and friends. And we don't, it's not like they're here all day, every day helping us. But I have learned to ask for help.
That's a big one. No, it's a big one because you're taking on such a humongous responsibility. And I know your kids are young, but I hope one day when they're older, they'll look back and realize like the sacrifice that mom and dad made was to set me up for something super good. So amazing. So we're landing the plane. So I have 5 random questions. They're rapid fire questions. So you can't think for a long time. You got to answer them as fast as fast as you can. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. First one, no money limit. Where would you go live for a week?
The islands.
Ooh, which one?
I love Jamaica, but I want to try something new. So St. Martin.
Okay. I like it. All right. You get to buy one thing. It has to be something just for Stacy. No money limit. What would it be?
Ooh, an all-inclusive vacation.
I love it. She passing the hints, y'all. Third.
I love all-inclusive.
I love it. Third question. Favorite movie?
Color Purple.
Okay. Now, did you like the remake?
No, I did not.
I did not. Okay, I don't feel bad. I felt disappointed.
I was disappointed.
I was like, you should have left it alone.
But let me tell you, can I tell you why real quick?
Yeah.
I felt like it probably could have been better if they had filmed it as a play instead of a movie. Yeah, like how Alexander Hamilton, they made it a movie, but it was filmed as a play, so it still had that play vibe. I think if they had done that, I think trying to make it a movie when it was originally a play, I think it messed up the vibe.
As soon as I heard the singing and stuff like that, I was like, I want to leave. I was
hurt. But it's okay because I still let it cover.
I was like, all right. 4th question.
Okay.
If you could give the 18-year-old Stacy some advice, what would it be?
You don't have to know what you want to do with the rest of your life because nobody else knows.
Nobody else knows. No. Even when they tell you they know, they don't know.
And it's okay to change your mind.
Absolutely. Number 5, the last question. If you had the ability to work or partner with one person in the world, who would it be and why?
In business or?
Anything.
To work and partner with one person in the world. Dead or alive?
Dead or alive? I'd do dead or alive.
I know you said don't think about it, but I right now what's coming to my mind is Maddie James.
Why is that?
I don't want to sound not humble or anything, but I see myself in her in that she likes nice things, but her family is important to her. She realizes the work that it takes to get to where she needs to be. She is a very organized person, but she also has a team of people that are helping her. And I admire that. And even though we're maybe doing different things, because I'm nowhere near where she is, but that is what I like about her content.
I love it. Well, guys, we are wrapping the conversation up with Stacy. I cannot tell you, if you guys are not following her on Threads, please go follow her because the information it's honest and it's just something that it's refreshing because we don't usually get people talking about, I'm simplifying things. I'm making things simple so that I don't have to be chasing 80 things. Stacey, what words would you leave the audience with to wrap up?
I would leave them with, if you are a homeschooler who is trying to grow a business or in the midst of growing a business, but your family is important to you, your home is important to you, keep things very simple so that you can make the progress that you want to make.
Mm-hmm. We're going to make that a billboard somehow. Stacey, thank you again for coming on the show. We will talk to you.
Thank you.